Welcome to the X-1 Legion cast. We're back with a special bonus episode this week. We're joined by a Mr. Will Schick.
I was gonna say,
does
this count as like the first bonus episode, or is this the third bonus episode? Because you guys were busy like all weekend.
Oh, so tired.
Yes.
Yeah, I know it was kind of wild to finish up on Saturday and then jump on in and be like, oh, look at what you guys are all up to, just live streaming from events, nonstop, rapid reactions, games, everything. It was a wild time.
I watched Grievous murder lots of innocents this weekend. It was scary.
That sounds canonically accurate to what Grievous does.
Yes, definitely.
2D Clone Wars Grievous is my jam, so it fits real good there.
Best version of Grievous that was ever made was that one. Like, absolutely terrifying.
Stompy Grievous for sure. Well, hey, we had Oklahoma Open, but there was also Ministrav, which was super distracting during round 2. We had a projector with Will up there, and so he was like the emperor delivering the speech out to our galaxy.
Lording over those poor players, That's what we do.
Yeah, it was good for the ones that were losing because they're like, oh, well, there is hope coming. So
also newfound respect for pulling off live streams because we attempted our first one.
And I
was like, well, this is tough. It's actually hard.
It's incredible, the amount of like technical expertise and work, and then everything goes wrong. You got to fix it on the fly. We're so lucky to have people like Tony and Summer on staff, Josh before them, who, I mean, they learned all of the tech stuff. And I just have to go in front of the camera and then watch as they sweat it out. And they're like, oh, this isn't working. And I'm like, you'll figure it out. Rapid typing as I just, smile at the camera. And I'm like, whatever. So I get the easy job. But yeah, it's a lot of work. It's really fun, though. I mean, hopefully you guys had a blast, commenting on games and everything. That was one of my favorite things to do when we used to do live stream commentary and stuff. Was just getting to be like the color guy.
Oh, yeah, it's so good. And there's just different energy when all the other people are in the room. So cool.
I was being a whole nuisance during round 2 because I have a naturally loud voice. So, and I was just screaming, hooping, hollering, and everybody and just clapping really loud. So,
yeah, I'd be like trying to, win a game of Legion because they made me play. And then I hear like, woo, Mace Windu, woo. You like clap. It's like,
I gotta look, but I can't. I'm on the clock. Oh, no.
I did look. He did get me.
I just hope that at some point, one of the TOs went over to a player and was like, I'm sorry, you're disqualified. Your list is now over points.
I did do that.
If we could have done it to Evan, we would have.
Don't worry. The night before, the night after the stream, everyone was like, so can I play with the new list? And Thomas, who brought Remnant, he was like, so I got 32 points cheaper. What can I bring on Sunday, baby? And I was like, no.
That is why we usually have some kind of forward-looking date on that stuff. But
yes,
also it's Ministrav, and you don't want people to be like, oh, can I use it? Can I not? That's why we always tell people it's up to the TO. Just use common sense. If you've got an event happening day of, obviously it's not going to change. If you got an event happening in like a week, talk to your TO. They'll let you know what they want to do. But yeah, there's always an event. That's the problem with those like updates and everything. There's just no good time to do it where no one's going to be affected. Because somebody's got an event going on every weekend. So we just kind of roll with it and they're like, people will figure it out.
Yeah, I gave people till the Friday before the event because I wanted Grievous Wheel Bikes, obviously, and then I wanted all the customizable commanders to be out and then anything else. But I had so many people being like, well, if they drop the points update before, what are you going to do? And I'm like, guys, it's going to be during Ministrav. Your lists are going to be locked the day before, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
It's going to be
My
too
buddy
late.
Will knows what he's doing, so...
Well, you lucked out because there was a real conversation about dropping the points on that Tuesday when we would normally do the dev update.
Oh, I knew it. When it did drop on Tuesday, I knew.
And so, but talking about it and everything, we're like, it'd be weird to do like the points, but then not do anything else. And so we'll just kind of like throw it all together in one, and we'll have all this good game content. Along with all of these reviews. So, you lucked out. If Ministrav wasn't that Saturday, you'd have gotten him on Tuesday, and then you would have had to deal with it. So I'm glad we could help you out.
Great move.
Thank you.
But yeah, there's a ton of new stuff to talk about. So, of course, we're going to throw it to Matt to talk about Wookiees.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Kashyyyk chat would not be happy with me if I didn't discuss the Wookiee in the room that was there's no Wookiee. I mean, Wookiees at a later date. Wookiees in April.
So one of the things that you always got to keep in mind when it comes to these points adjustments and just rebalances in general, if there are going to be some, right, is that I think everybody pretty much agrees that everyone likes to see new things. We like to see new things come to the game. We like to be surprised by new development, new designs, all of this stuff. We want to see Mace Windu finally come into the game. We want to see Jedi on Bark Speeders. We want to see Guerrilla Troopers. We want to see all this stuff. There's only, unfortunately, so much time in the day. There's only so much bandwidth on the team. So we do really have to play the game of like, okay, what are we going to address now? What are we going to wait for later? How are these things going to like filter through? And Wookiees, well, I think they do need some attention. Everyone agrees with that. Obviously, we're looking at them now. Where they fell into the cycle was just after this update. I think that we're going to see some adjustments on them in April. I do want to temper expectations. It's they're not going to get dramatically rechanged or like rewritten to be brand new things. Our approach is always to look at points first, and then when points may not do everything we need them to do, then we'll start talking about, do we need to adjust something on the unit card? Do we need to make some changes? Maybe we add a new upgrade card. Obviously we saw how dramatic that could be with the June update. So is it something like we need to add a character? Hey, here's the guy. He showed up just in time. He knew what we were talking about. So again, that's kind of like where we're at. It's one of those things where it's going to be a process, and we're going to you're never going to wind up waking up ideally and have the entire game change to one of these dev updates. That's not the goal. The goal is to adjust the things that dramatically need adjusting or that have fallen into our pattern of being able to adjust them. And then, we're going to take data from everything that's going on, and we're going to make our next set of adjustments. And so wasn't Wookiees time. It will be Wookiees eventually, and then it'll be somebody else's time after that. So, yeah.
Okay. I took them out this last weekend. I mean, they were out there. So
yeah, I think overall, I mean, what we found in our testing is that, I think we're moving them in a good spot. So I'm excited to see how that'll change. But again, if folks are out there being like, we're going to completely revise Wookiees and we're going to change everything, they're going to be brand new unit cards, 99 times out of 100, that's just not going to be the case for anything that comes up for an adjustment, right? Those are rare. You really have to be completely broken before I think that's kind of the thing that, and not broken and overpowered, but broken is just non-functional before that kind of becomes the thing.
And I think people I talk to, because I got a lot of comments, are like, oh man, you're playing Wookiees. I think Wookiees are particularly tough to balance because you're competing in a Republic Special Forces slot, you're competing in a Rebel Special Forces slot, which are both very good. And then if you make them good there, then you have to balance having 6 of them in a battle force. So it's tough. So I think people do recognize that.
Yeah, and I mean the battle force is definitely one of those things where like if you want to play Wookiees, right? I think the battle force is exciting because it gives you a place where they're kind of free of that other Republic pressure where it's like, but they're not the best special forces. Does that mean, and battle forces also are insular, so maybe there's a little bit of a push, more of a push there than there's other places, but you're right. You do always have to keep in mind that whatever you change to the base unit is also going to affect where you can like really maximize your Wookiees. And is that going to take them too far or not? And how many different versions of Wookiees do we need running around the game before players get confused and like which card is which and all of that stuff? So a lot of things that we have to worry about, or Pagani specifically has to worry about.
Yeah,
true. That is definitely a me problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you. Sorry for leading with that, but the people of Kashyyyk chat were.
I think based on the entire reaction video that I saw from the Oklahoma Open, Wookiees was the most talked about thing. I don't think there was a single guest who came on who didn't bring them up. So it's right to start
making fun of us, but yeah, for sure.
Well, it doesn't matter the reasons. Like the data point still exists.
I'll take it.
Awesome. Well, to talk about something that was announced at the stream, the Guerrilla Troopers look super interesting to me. I love the scavenge Stormtrooper armor and the weapons we saw in the models. I love the dude with the buzz cut and the knife that it looks like 6 different versions of John Bernthal in
A little
those
bit, yeah.
models. And so, yeah, like, can you guys, because they're kind of like an original concept you guys worked on with LFL. So can you take us through what that process was like? If you guys excited to do more stuff like that? Yeah.
So similar to kind of how the Riot Troopers and the Sleeper Cell came about, in that we're looking at these factions, we're saying, okay, well, what do we want to add? What is an interesting design space that hasn't really been cracked? And talking, like, you look at the Rebels and talking about an elite kind of durable unit doesn't really necessarily exist in some of the slots. You have your Wookiees, right, which they have got a lot of wounds to chew through and that kind of thing. But everyone's been bringing up red saves, right? So that kind of like idea within the space. And originally we were kind of looking at the Cara Dune's shock trooper thing, but that idea and like what that kind of outfit and organization kind of looks like, one, it doesn't really fit within the things that we have currently in the media and stuff. And so we were riffing a bit off of that idea, and then also thinking about, okay, well, what's another kind of rebel trope that we haven't really seen? And the idea of these guys and gals and aliens and whatever that exist behind enemy lines, to the point that they just kind of get dropped off and then they have to survive, right? And the only way they can really do that is by stealing things and reappropriating equipment. It led us to a very cool design, something that we thought visually would be really neat, that would fit within the Rebels, and that also, from a game perspective, would give Pagani and the team a lot of leeway to play with and find some really interesting approaches that could hopefully add some value and some interest to Rebel list building. That was different from the the Sleeper Cell idea or the Rebel Trooper idea, or even, I know a lot of people have been like, oh, so these are kind of like the Pathfinder replacements. Not really. I mean, this unit is dramatically different. I would say Pathfinders and Commandos really have a lot of overlap in terms of what they do within the setting and the canon. But this unit is really meant to be like, these are the guys who maybe don't even know the war has ended on certain planets in the era of the New Republic, right? Like they very much are so entrenched into that fighting and that guerrilla kind of warfare that they might have been forgotten about. There might still be a couple of them out there living day to day with their knives, eating worms out of the mud and stuff.
Yeah, I like to think of them, right, as like, I'm going to use the word veterans, which obviously already exist in the game, right? But they're like rebel troopers that have won their first battle and they have gotten the equipment from the Empire and like, oh, okay, we got this stuff now, we got the goods, and then how can we leverage this into more, right? So that's sort of how I visualize them narratively in my head. Is very much like they're not green troops, right? They're not people that haven't fought before or those kind of things. We're rebel troopers. They've fought before. They've received a little bit of training, right? But they're not like grizzled. They're not eating worms out of the ground, I guess. It's kind of thing. And then they also don't have like all the resources of the rebellion behind them, where like the veterans or the commandos would have that. They're very much in there, whereas these are much more like homegrown rebels rather than like trained on Yavin rebels that we kind of saw in season 2 of Andor and that kind of stuff. That's what I like to think about them. I don't know if that's correct. Shit can blow me up. That's in my brain. Whenever we talked about them, that's what was going on.
I think it's kind of like, one of the things we always talked about was the idea that these guys are not part of the chain of command in any way. Like they're a little A team in that, or like Mission Impossible style, where if they're caught, their mission is completely disavowed. That kind of stuff. Even though the rebels don't really care about that, but the idea being that, like, even the rebel high command doesn't necessarily know, A, if there's a unit operating like this, B, what they're doing. They're given a lot of operational leeway. Or, as Pagani kind of says, I think it is true that this also could just be like the next level of Sleeper Cell. We've exposed ourselves to the Empire, and now we're on the lam, and so we've become these really hard bitten, kind of cynical guerrilla fighters who are stealing equipment and doing whatever we need to survive. I think both those tracks definitely like work within what the narrative of this unit could be and how players want to take that. And it was a fun place to explore, right? And I think, again, from a visual and design standpoint, it was really exciting to kind of have those discussions with LFL and to see how excited they were. And we're like, yeah, they're rebels, but they like steal stormtrooper armor and weapons, and they run around kind of looking half and half. And then that led to a whole lot of conversations internally. You got to see the great artwork that Preston Stone did with our fantastic artists, and the coloring and how those units would look was a huge point of consternation, because if you paint them, if you color them in the wrong way and you just make them all white, now all of a sudden they just look like Imperials. And we needed those visual cues that said they're not Imperials, they are people who are wearing Imperial equipment. And so we did a lot of back and forth on that. So it was a really fun unit to work on for a lot of different reasons. Just because of like the newness of it and the unexplored territory of it, and to bring all that together and to create something that hopefully everyone will think fits really well within not only the game, but the Star Wars galaxy. It was a joy. So I'm looking forward for people to see more and more of that. I know most people on the team are as well.
Yeah, I like the design space on that there too, and I really like the link to Cara Dune you guys were saying there. Yeah, so very
The
cool.
hobby side on those guys is going to be really cool. I'm really looking forward to see what the community is going to do, and it's cool seeing guys look around those big old HH12 and with their rebel.
Especially now the cumbersome is better, right?
Yeah.
Now you might actually take it.
Yeah,
we're probably bearing the lead on that one though, because I think that comes later. But
yeah, we'll get copyright struck by Evan if we talk about uncumbersome. But yeah, very excited. Another thing I'm super excited about is the Han and Chewie mercenaries. I play a lot of Chewie, and I'm excited for another, a whole nother flavor. Looks very New Hope and pre-New Hope Han and Chewie.
Yep.
So what's kind of the inspiration for that, or like what kind of like to do a new time period for them? Because Han was like General Han in the Rebellion, and Chewie was like his buddy. So like now making them a single.
I mean, the big thing for us was that their introduction to Star Wars in Episode 4 in that Mos Eisley Cantina, and then kind of them working as smugglers and mercenaries for hire, to ferry Obi-Wan and the secret plans to Alderaan. I think if you love the original trilogy, but if you're a fan of Star Wars in general, that kind of moment in time for those characters really does stand out. It's a very unique character compared to where we see them go in Return of the Jedi, or when they're fully integrated into the Rebel Alliance and they kind of buy into the whole philosophy and the goals of the rebels. And people have said, well, we just want to see him in his original costume, right? We just want to see him in the vest and the pants and not the Endor like trench coat. For us, just making a new miniature was kind of a miss, because there was a lot that we could do with him. And Chewie, it kind of came about as we started talking about, well, what if we made them a character unit? What if we created this, like, because we only really see them as a pair in Episode 4 especially. So why make them separable? Why not make them the unit that we see? And then we can really start to play with that idea of like, these guys are guns for hire. They do work with the rebellion, for the right amount of money. And we can kind of really play up to that New Hope feel of them. It also thematically tied a little bit into the work we were doing on the Mud Troopers and the 224th, Armored Division from Solo. And so while these aren't necessarily Solo young versions of them, there's still that thematic link of the fact that this is them before joining the rebellion. This is them as we see them in Episode 4. So that was a lot of fun.
That's my part two. My question was like, we talked about future battle forces. You talked about what factions they might be in. So yeah, you got me there. You got it before I got it out. But very cool. Diverting a little bit, Mud Troopers. Mud Troopers are going to be pretty. I'm pretty excited about that as a new Empire main. So
yeah, Mud Troopers were really exciting to create. I mean, one, I just love how they look personally, right? Like the Mud Trooper armor, the helmets, the goggles, like it's just the coolest. It's the coolest. No, I might say that. That might be blasphemy. It's reminding me of Kylo Ren's helmet, and if you know me from any of these, I'm a huge Kylo Ren fanboy. So I don't know. They got the silver goggles thing.
I can see it.
I can see it. I was
the shape.
That's true. I don't know what I love them. Maybe that's why I love them. But then the rules for them were also a lot of fun to work on, which maybe I'm spoilering here a tiny bit. So Shake just started slapping me. But if Rebels got their red save unit, Mud Troopers are kind of that version of a unit for Empire, where it's like a non-cookie cutter, doesn't fit the mold of normal stormtroopers and those kind of things for the Mud Troopers. So That was really exciting to explore, and like, what can we do with this? How can we build these themes into this unit that is so different from stormtroopers and things like that? So
I didn't know if you guys were ever going to do it. I know people had talked about it, like, oh, that'd be so cool. I didn't know if that was ever going to be,
they're the
you know,
coolest.
like
We gotta get them in.
So very, very excited about that.
Get them in there.
I think I was just gonna say, I think one of the big things with the Mud Troopers or the Imperial Army, right, as they're kind of both, but for us, we very much pulled the reference from Solo. So we call them Mud Troopers because they have a couple of accoutrements that Imperial Army necessarily don't. But the ideas and themes are pretty similar. And when it comes down to that as a core, I think it really provides a unique look to the Empire army building. If maybe you don't want to take, because it's weird, Empire and Republic, right? Their core units forever have been the elites. Because the Stormtrooper Corps, well, we think of them as the general infantry grunts. They're not. The Stormtrooper Corps is actually they're the Green Berets of the Empire. We see them all the time, but they are the elites. They go through specialized training. They have an intensive discipline regime. They're equipped with the best stuff. Imperial Army is actually your general conscripts, as we see in Solo. So it's fun to be able to kind of dive into that aspect of the Empire and give players the opportunity to utilize that in their general forces, or do the Solo, 224th Min Band kind of thing, and let them be a full army, so that instead of playing Stormtrooper Corps, you're actually playing Imperial Army supported by Stormtrooper Corps, which, to a generalized canonical kind of thought processes, that's more commonly what you would see. We just happen to always be in the places where, the elites have to be deployed because our main characters are there. And therefore, right, you're going to see the best of the best.
Well, I think we've gone long enough without talking about anything clone or GAR related. So I'm going to put a stop to that right now.
We talked about Wookiees. They're in Galactic Republic.
They don't respect us.
I didn't get to ask about most troopers yet.
Oh yeah, the wet weathers. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Fine, I'll allow it.
I mean, they're stormtroopers with cool capes. What more do you want?
Those are the greatest capes possibly in miniatures right now.
I don't know if it's done yet. Can we make him upgrade their dye to black and it'd be like dashing cape slap? Like, maybe suppressive? I don't know.
We'll just give them duelist, because that's what a cape is used for.
Their melee weapon is just a wet cape.
And they take an action to smolder.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. So clones, Jedi. Yes, we talked about Wookiees, but I don't play Wookiees, so I only care about clones and Jedi.
It's part of the problem here, man.
Yeah.
Part of the problem.
Jedi High Council box looks amazing. So while we have a few lightsaber wielding guys in the game already, what kind of design space are you guys exploring to help differentiate these new council members that you're adding and try to make them different from the existing? I mean, I know you can play with the masteries a little bit, but is there anything else that you're trying to make them different from all each other?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, obviously, is their battlefield role, and trying to really get across their personalities. Right? He's back on his phone.
Hey.
he got Asmodee fired walled.
I almost asked, did you guys get that figured out? And the answer is no.
Well, I think I did. I don't know if Pagani has done the fix, so I'll have to run that through him. But
I have not. This is my first time back on since the fix.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
So Jedis, and how are they different, right? It's no different than how you make a unique character, right? Why are all Jedis different in general? Why do some people love Plo Koon and some people hate Ki-Adi Mundi? There's reasons, right? Some of that's visual, some of it's character, some of it's personality.
I'm so glad you listened.
The thing is that for how much people think we don't listen, we listen to everything.
Oh my
You're
gosh.
really proving the point right now.
That's
hardcore.
So
it's a little too close to home.
Doesn't this guy hate on Gar too much, Will? Can you tell him? Hey, it's me, Will Schick from the game. Stop hating on Gar.
He's very excited that Weequays and the Wheelo are going into Shadow Collective, so I feel mission accomplished.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the statement was made, we don't need that much more stuff. So
we're getting new battle forces. That's all we need.
Yeah. But as far as the Jedi go, right? So you have the commander operative difference. And then the goal was to really make each Jedi kind of have a unique role or responsibility or a thing that they excel at. So you look at like what does the character do, right? Like Shaak Ti, if you watch the Clone Wars and you know her backstory, she kind of bridges the gap of clone training, but she also works very closely with mercenaries, right? The clones weren't trained by Imperial, like Republic officers. I was going to say Imperial officers; those really didn't exist. But Republic officers also didn't exist because the Republic didn't have a standing army. So they, you know, as we see in the Camino episodes, they turn to trained bounty hunters effectively, or like, you know, mercenary soldiers to train the clones. So we can play with that, right? We have a lot of different mercenaries in the game. Shaak Ti kind of is this unification force between mercenaries and Republic in her role as training. And so let's dive into that. When you look at like a character like Mace Windu, right? How do we bring that Mace Windu feeling to the fore but create a different offensive like powerhouse than Anakin? And that's, you know, that's the work that the developers do, and that's kind of like you start with the theme and the narrative, and then you kind of build from there. Plo Koon, as we see him in the canon, is always concerned with the safety of his troops. He really values, you know, he tells his clones, you're not clones to me, you're each individuals, and he goes out of his way to really take care and protect them, whereas other Jedi maybe don't view them that way, right? And that's a legitimate reason not to like Yadi-Mundi. He doesn't seem very interested in the poor clones, but he does care about the Wookiees because he's the only one who asks.
Yeah, hey, that's got to get him in the battle force, right? Like he would have been there if he could have.
Go himself.
He would have. Well, I mean,
he's like,
he was busy. He was busy. He was just a hologram. He was already on mission. You can't drop one mission to go to the other.
He would have been there.
Hey, well, he hates Geonosians, so
that's true. That's true. And he plays
against Geos.
He plays Anakin's like, how many Geos did you kill game? So, you know, like, peace and order, guys. Peace and order. A Jedi never does anything from aggression, only for knowledge and defense. Like, we're killing it over here.
Oh, literally killing it.
By the way, here's the flamethrowers. Oh, man.
Do you have anything to add, Pagani?
No, not on that one. No, what I will say is the 4 new characters in that pack are all very, very different, right? I think it's very easy to kind of get into you're making a Jedi. We call it kind of the Jedi package, where it's like, cool, you're going to have jump, you're going to have deflect, you're going to have pierce on your web, like all that kind of stuff, right? And all that's there. So we did a lot of exploration on like how, like, what can we do to make these very different from currently existing Jedi and like Obi-Wan and Anakin and stuff. And then also very different from each other, right? So each one is focused on very different things, basically, right? That is very integral to their story and what we see them do in the stories and stuff. So,
and I think some of it, right, is like Pagani said, there's kind of this expected package, and breaking away from that and giving yourself the freedom to say, you know what, they're not standardized templates. We can assume that just because, you know, a character may not have deflect doesn't mean that they're incapable of deflecting. But what we want to focus on in terms of their limited suite of abilities on the card is something else. So they can do this, they can do that, right?
Yeah. And kind of building on that specifically, right, for deflect, and this is kind of a philosophy that we've talked about across a lot of things, right, is, yes, I'm going to say every Jedi, I don't know if that's actually true, but every Jedi can deflect blaster bolts, but deflect should probably be saved for the ones that are, like, known for deflecting blaster bolts. And everybody else just gets, like, block or something else like that, right? So there's a lot of ways that we kind of navigated through who was especially good at what inside of the different Jedi stuff. So,
and I'm sure the masteries, I mean, it really adds a lot of flavor to each individual Jedi as well. And I mean, in their lightsaber form that they're known for fighting too. So yeah, you have your base package, but then I think really where they deviate is like the individual masteries that each one has too, which I think you guys have done a great job at. Like each one has their own identity.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's a lot of intriguing stuff. And I mean, obviously when you get to do like a new lightsaber mastery, like Mace's Vapad, right? Obviously he's going to have his unique form. Then that opens up a whole host of like new exploration and design space. But I think, you know, it kind of comes back to the exciting part about where we are with the edition, where we are with the rebalances, where we are in terms of our development design is that, you know, that kind of standard templating or that expectation that everything has to be X, Y, and Z, and that's how it functions, and therefore you'll apply that template over and over, is something that we're really starting to be able to free ourselves of, while still trying to honor it in certain ways. And, that means that not every lightsaber has to be pierced too, just because it's a lightsaber, right? If we handed each of us a lightsaber and said, go, swing it at this piece of armor, we'd all have different success rates,
I'm
right?
100% killing myself on accident.
Yeah. We one of the guys we used to work with, Steve Horvath, who was kind of the godfather of the studio in general. He was the global head of Asmodee Publishing or whatever at the time, some big fancy title. His thing was like, he was really into Japanese, samurai swordsmanship and stuff. And so he'd go to Japan and he'd go to these classes and they do like the cut thing where they cut through the reeds. And once you start to really get into that, it's like, you can't just swing the sword and cut through the reeds. It doesn't work that way. You really have to know what you're doing to get a clean cut, to be smooth, to do all this stuff. It's the same thing, right? So we can kind of utilize those set packages or expectations and say, well, this Jedi is really good. We'll give them a higher pierce value. This Jedi is not very well trained. We'll give them a lower pierce value. We'll start to really mess with those things. And that's when you start to really find a lot of, I think, intriguing, like, fun to be able to show differences, to be able to give players choices and that kind of stuff. So it's a neat challenge. And I think that box will really kind of represent how we're going to approach that kind of stuff going forward, and how we can have 3 versions of Han Solo and all of this different stuff, right? That's still going to be meaningful and exciting to players.
Okay.
I'm Shakti and Mercenaries in the same.
Yeah, I'll say Randy's happy about Shakti.
I'm probably gonna have to play in clones now. So,
Are
away from the Jedi for
their own unique mastery? I'll just ask you right now.
Well,
maybe.
I don't believe that all of them do.
Okay.
I don't think all of them do. No.
Okay. Cool. I had to ask.
No,
I like my Jedi.
Was that like fun? Did you get to like look up like, oh, what form did they use? I mean, obviously, like Mace Windu is obvious. Like I don't know, like Plo Koon, was he like form 1? I don't remember what form he was. He just wanted the like more chill forms. But my first Plo Koon, like the basic, my first memory of Plo Koon is Jedi Power Battles when I was a child, and he had a yellow lightsaber, and he like wore like a kind of dress thing, and he was like super slow. But that is not here nor there. Oh no,
we got firewall.
Now he's got firewall.
He got it.
I still got one. We're good.
Yeah, we still got.
Okay, this is perfect. This is a Pagani question for sure. Anyway,
yes. Okay.
We can keep rolling.
I got you.
Moff Gideon got a significant points drop, as well as some other units in Remnant. What are the thoughts behind that?
Yeah, generally speaking, characters we feel have been too expensive, right? As we are learning, and I think we've learned a lot over the past, I don't even know how many months it's been since we've released all the new scenarios and the new balance updates and all those kind of things, right? We've really learned what's valuable and what's not. And whereas a lot of these characters in the previous version of the game were very valuable for XYZ reason, that did not necessarily hold true going forward. And all that we can do is point based on our testing, which is a lot, but not enough, right? Like we talk about this a lot, where when we play test and we do these things, we get to play 100 games, 200 games, 300, like however many games it is. It's a lot of games, but it's not. When you guys get it, we get thousands of games. So it's just a whole different magnitude, right? So we learned so many things going into that kind of stuff. And what we've learned is a lot of characters. I know, like Fifth Brother, Seventh Sister, Moff Gideon. In the past, we've had other ones like Sun Fac was a big one that dropped, right? I think Asajj dropped. But all these characters have been dropping in points pretty significantly because what they do or bring isn't as valuable as what it was before, right? And we pointed them based on our extensive but limited playtest games, and what we thought was going to happen in those things, and so these points adjustments are really trying to bring those characters back to relevance, right? When we see remnant lists that are being played without Moff Gideon, that's unfortunate, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's the guy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that every remnant list should have Moff Gideon in it or should be built around Moff Gideon or doing those kind of things. We definitely certainly want to see him as a viable option, right? So I think that's where a lot of the philosophy comes from for things like Moff Gideon or some of these other characters, that we want to be able to see those on the table and people to be excited about them and happy about playing them and that kind of thing. Whereas Sometimes when you're a fanboy, like this guy, you play the thing that you love because it's great, but sometimes you get a little sad about that, and we don't want people to be a little sad about that. So
yeah, definitely.
we're slowly making it through the roster of all the different characters and those things, right? We're being measured in our approach. We're trying to be reasonable in all these things. Sometimes we get a little crazy, and Sunfac drop. I don't even remember the percentage that was the drop on Sunfac, but it was highly significant, and Poggle as well. But that's doing exciting stuff, and here we are. So
Yep. Sunfac is really cool. He does die if you shoot at him, though. It's sometimes tougher to shoot at him than you think. Yeah.
I mean, we can get a little off topic and talk about that for a minute, right? His offensive output is not very good. Like, he doesn't actually like defeat miniatures, right? He's not super duper big on that. He applies a lot of suppression. He can get places. He can panic people. He can do that kind of stuff. But his actual like removal from the table of miniatures is not huge. So that's kind of how we justified that points drop on him so many moons ago now. But we're keeping an eye on all the Genoshan stuff and going from there. So I derailed the whole thing, Chick. Don't worry. While you were gone,
I can tell we're talking about Sunfac now. And what happened?
Oh, we were talking about Moff Gideon, and then we got to characters in general, and then we got to Sunfac, and then
I missed the whole Bark Speeder Jedi conversation, but they're cool.
Wow, we didn't talk about them yet.
You didn't actually.
Oh, we just shifted. That's fine too. Yeah, the Asmodee firewall got me too. So yes, back to IT.
Undefeated.
Well, I have a question, or we could talk about Jedi on Barks.
No, ask the question. Ask the question.
Okay. Yeah. The Wheelo 5 Wheelo looks amazing. That is such. I'm so excited to get those and paint them. I asked about pilots last time, but now we've seen the card. I don't think those look necessarily like crappy tanks. I do realize they break on 6. However, if that's crappy, then sign me up for some crappy tanks. I did notice on the card there's Arsenal 2, and there are 2 guns on there, but I was wondering if there would be any other options for different payloads, possibly.
Gosh, I actually don't remember, so I cannot answer your question. I am sorry.
Likely.
That's fair. That's fair.
I don't know if you guys have realized that you guys have created a new battle cry when people bring Wheelos. It's just going to be an ambulance siren when people just like
it's the minion with the siren.
Minion, the minion with the light on. That's like that's going to be the new thing when people march into battle with their
Randy
Wheelos.
Does do it every time you say Wheelo. He's like Wheelo.
I'm into it.
Yeah,
I will yell it at Worlds.
So there are a number of. So there's 2 pilots that come with it.
Pilots, yeah.
And then I don't remember. And then there are upgrade cards to allow it to be specifically Weequay crewed, Pike Syndicate crewed, or Black Sun crewed.
Yes.
Okay, that's
wow.
So that changes the affiliation.
Okay.
Yep. So that allows you to obviously get orders from the appropriate commander or whatever, and then it also changes where it gets a specific bonus. So with each of those crews, it can gain aim or dodge tokens based on criteria from which crew you've taken.
I like that a lot, Will.
You just sold like 4 Wheelos to Randy.
I mean, I have to build 2 for Pikes, 2 for Black Suns, 2 for Pirates, obviously, right?
Obviously. But yeah, that's what I can tell you based on the cards that I'm looking at right now. But much like everyone else, I don't actually have the backside of the card, so I can't tell you. Anything that's on the back. I only have pictures of the front. But we did make specific upgrades for each of the different pilots or the little guy in the top, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a version of each of those, and then obviously there's the generic one. So you don't necessarily have to take that upgrade if you don't want to. You can just have it be a flat, rando tank.
I would like to know how this is defined as a light tank when it has armor 5 and 10 wounds. Is that a light tank definition?
Yeah, fix it.
It's all a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
All a matter of
okay.
perspective.
I
So
will also
ATST
say,
is just a light
yeah,
vehicle.
it's just a light. I mean, compared to like an ATT for sure.
Okay,
but
fair. Yeah,
Comparisons.
okay.
No, I mean, I think like so the original design was that it was kind of like a budget tank, right? And it was a bit weaker. It breaks quicker. That said, those things do shift in playtesting, and the final stats may not be as reflective of the design based on what it needs to be actually like playable in the game, right? So a lot of the times when we're showing those early previews, we're not quite done with everything, and I do think that this is a situation where there were some last minute changes based on playtest feedback and stuff that might have amped it up a bit more than it was. Because I think when it started, it was like Armor 3. I think it still had the 10 wounds and the 6, but it was, and it might have even had a different save. I don't remember. So again, those things get adjusted based on the feedback, and oftentimes we're showing things. Usually, when we show something in like a gray form, right? You're talking about it's about 18 to 24 months, right?
Yeah.
18-ish months away, right?
Yeah.
Which means the dev is definitely not finalized. Really, only once we show the cards, that's usually it's gone to prints somewhere in the anywhere from 1 month to 6-ish.
Okay.
Based on when it's like releasing and stuff. And those are all kind of variable windows based on when the release is and all of that stuff. But it's a year or more to go from like sending files to the factory to seeing it on a shelf.
Yeah.
And this one specifically was also even longer, right? Because I don't know if you guys remember before even 2.6, we were talking about super squads and stuff. We talked about playtesting a squad that was bigger. That was the pirates that were playtested alongside.
So this tank originally was meant to come out in first edition alongside the Weequays. And so it's had a very long and weird journey to finally get to where it is now.
Well, so this one specifically is even longer than what Shake is talking about.
Gotcha.
It looks awesome though, so I'm excited.
Well, the model looks amazing, and I can't wait to see a bunch of them on the table.
I've held one in my hands, and let me tell you, it's even cooler in person.
Okay.
Like
it's one of those that everyone who sees it is just like, I just want one. It doesn't matter. Like people who don't even know what it is are just like, no, that's just cool. It feels like a fighter jet, but it's not. Like, yeah, it's very neat. It's very neat because it's got the wings and it's got the big engines on the back. Like it looks like a plane, but it's not a plane. Yeah, it's very neat. I'm very excited for it. It's very cool.
As am I. Another thing I'm hotly excited about was the Raider Battle Force that was mentioned. And you guys showed off the Weequay pirate cards. It seems very interesting having this unit that can run in and charge something, but has the versatile pistols to then shoot out of melees with a whole unit. So
it's real weird.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. So, with all that being said, can you tell me what Swashbuckler does?
No, that's the last little treat that you're going to need to make all of this make way more sense.
That's fine. But
yeah,
I would love to hear how those guys came out that way.
They still don't have the points and stuff. Yeah, like I mean, overall, right? We were just trying to really capture the idea of this underhanded kind of like cheaty pirate stuff. So the idea that you can hide in melee combat with something that's not very good, but still shoot out of it. It had that, it had that Weequay vibe we see in the episodes where Hondo and his crew are around, right? Half the time his crew is like undercutting Hondo or selling him out or trying to take command for them. Like they're very low down scoundrelly people. They're very pirate. And I think the idea for Versatile came, I think it was from Andrew Dursum as he was working on the unit, and it might have been through conversations with our great playtesters as well. But it was just one of those moments where it was like, oh yeah, that's really dirty and it feels very piratey. So let's jump with that and roll it forward. And then Swashbuckler obviously is one of those new keywords that came up because it was needed to really drive home the idea that, that pirate feel, right? So obviously Swashbuckler kind of interacts with melee and lets them do some piratey kind of goodness and that kind of stuff.
They're very weird.
I love it. Love it.
Yeah, I'm excited to have to deal with this Randy running up with 6 Weequays.
Well,
so
you just don't let them run up. You just shoot them before they get there, and you'll be fine. maybe just your Wookiees will be fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're trying to meet, but
your Wookiees like actually want that, I think, because they'll be fine.
Eat some Weequays. That's fine.
Just blast a whole unit.
I did get a Luke yesterday. I felt pretty good. So yeah, it was pretty nice. I got him before he could do the turn that makes me not attack him and attack myself.
Yeah.
So anyway,
you just punched him down with fist spikes. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't have into the fray, so he kind of got a little unlucky. So it happens.
I'll take it.
Yep. Okay. Cassian Andor, the upgrades, and I guess upgrades in general, the 4 that we released. Okay, I'm loving Andor, so I think obviously very excited about Cassian as far as being an upgrade. It seems like there's 2 kind of ways the card works. Like it starts more of like a covert with the secret mission, and then it flips, and then it's like kind of a fighty kind of card. I guess what is that? Is that kind of inspired by Andor, or kind of like how's that? Walk me through that a little bit.
Specifically Rogue One.
Okay.
Right? So if you think about the battle on Scarif, they sneak, and then they get uncovered, and then everyone's fighting for their lives, right? I think that was really where, not so much the show, although we kind of see that once or twice in season 2. But yeah, it was very much influenced by the movie and that Battle of Scarif.
Very cool.
I don't know. I remember when this idea got pitched to me, and I was like, "You guys are brilliant. This is the best thing I've ever heard." Like, you get so much flavor on this upgrade card that feels so that battle, right? Like these people are fighting for their lives. This is everything that they're trying to do. They're trying to sneak in. They're trying to do these things. They're trying to get their secret mission, right? They're trying to creep in, and then when it goes wrong, like they gotta go, right? This is the time. This is the inspirational speech. This is the slow-mo explosion in the background, and it's go time. And I don't know. I love this card. This is my favorite one that we showed today, or whenever we showed this 2 days ago. Time is an illusion. But this is my favorite one that we showed just because it's so cool, right? I think the developers absolutely nailed it on this one for Flipper. So
yep, it is super cool.
I think all the upgrade cards have been. I mean, this whole design space that you guys have created has just been amazing. Like, I know with Ahsoka, which I've loved, but with Captain Rex, I love his ability to get a command slot and another training slot, and put him in a super squad with a shotgun, and then you get another free action, which I'm assuming you can still only attack once per turn, so it's just another like move or dodge or aim or thing like that. But yeah, I love that, and I love seeing more named clones being like leading the troops, and it sounds like you guys are really leaning into that.
Yeah, I mean, Shake, I don't know if you want to talk about the story elements behind it, but I can talk about the development behind it a little bit if we want.
Go for it.
Which is like our hope for these, right, is to create building blocks inside of armies, inside of factions, right? That is, Cassian's rebel troopers are very different, or Cassian's fleet troopers, or Cassian's whatever unit you decide to put him into is very different from a normal unit of that thing. Right? So whereas a lot of these upgrades and things are like, oh, I'm going to play blah, blah, blah with this heavy weapon, and I'm going to take 3 of this. Because these are characters that you can only take 1 of, we can make them a lot more exciting and a lot more interesting and a lot more unique. And then we have to worry less about balance because you can only take 1 of them, right? It's sort of like the 5 Super Squad has found its niche in Republic lists because you can only take 1. So I'm less worried about that personally as a developer. Whereas if you could take as many 5s as you wanted, you would see people running around 3, 4 of these squads and just being like, here's 700 points or whatever. But because there's only 1, I think it's very cool that people can kind of latch onto that thing. And it kind of makes it like sort of like what Bad Batch did, right? Bad Batch came out as a unit and it's highly impactful and it's super cool, but you only get 1. So now you get a 5 squad. That's very different from Bad Batch. It's still super unique. It's still super cool. You get 1. You get this Cassian squad, right? You get all these different squads that are very different from everything else in the game, but you can only take 1. And then that creates these like, oh, okay, well, I want to take maybe one unit of fleet troopers with Cassian because he's especially good there. And like, okay, well, in the future, there's Leia, and Leia's really good with commandos or something, right? I'm just making things up at this point. But like, then you're like, and we see list diversity because of that. One of the things that I personally love in army games is seeing a lot of different types of units on the table, right? So if each of these characters is very powerful or very good or works best in one unit type that is different and things like that, then I think that would be really cool, and it's a space that we're looking to go with these character upgrades.
Yeah.
So
I love it. I love it.
I guess there are some forum posts today where people were asking questions about the Cassian card. I think the forum post said that when the card flips, they lose the keywords on the other side of the card, which
I believe
which tracks.
Sounds correct to me.
And then the other questions some of our people on our Discord had was they keep the heavy when the card flips, right? Because they get an extra heavy slot. Card flips, the heavy doesn't explode.
Yes, that is about army construction.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That is not an in-game effect.
Yeah.
You crazy guys out there.
Yeah. They wouldn't explode your heavy.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when the Ewoks steal your heavy and run away, the guy doesn't like go with the Ewok. He just doesn't have the profile anymore. So I don't know. Yeah, I see where the question came from, but no, I imagine that is not the case. Though if I am wrong, the forums will tell you. This is not an official ruling. Because those only come through the forums.
All right, moving along, kind of wrapping up here and getting into the newer missions and the new mission that was released and the new secondary. It looks like the new secondary is kind of a reimagined or homage to old Recover the Supplies. Will we see, what the heck? Can I not read? Oh,
no.
Will we see a return to placing asset tokens on the field to be grabbed? Also notably, it's only troopers. And are you guys looking at maybe adding some older missions from like Legacy Legion kind of back as like secondaries, or are you taking inspiration, I guess I should say is a better word?
Yes. Yes is the short version, right? This next mission pack has a lot of inspiration drawn from some of the original Legion missions. I would not expect to see anything like copy pasted over or anything like that. They will thematically be similar. But if you look at this versus the previous one, which used like a deck of cards, I think this one's you roll on a chart and stuff.
Mhm.
So they will vaguely be similar to some of them, yes.
Okay.
But there are also other things in this pack. That's not all. So, but yes, we are taking inspiration and paying homage to sort of some of the previous things.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, right? Because I think on the one hand, a lot of the missions that players lamented the loss of the most were the most narrative, the most thematic, right? The hostage exchange, the recover the supplies, bomb cart, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Those ones were almost always the most toxic as well, because if you knew how to exploit them, they were very easy to make like effectively non-interactive games. Breakthrough is another one that not really thematic, but you could definitely skew towards, and if your opponent was not prepared to deal with it, they were in trouble.
Huge problem.
So a big thing of like a big joy of being able to go back and do that is internally, we all love the more narrative, the more story, the more flavorful, the more thematic a mission can be. We just think it makes the play experience in the game better. So now we get to go back to these ones that have been identified both internally, I think, but externally as well with the community, that everyone loved what they were trying to do, but maybe they just didn't do it in a really great way. And so we can kind of go back and say, okay, with the new edition, with the new rules, how do we take this concept and make it work and make it function in a way that ideally we're avoiding the sins of the past and we're making a more thematic and interactive experience and all this stuff. So that has been, as Pagani mentioned, it's been enjoyable, and you will likely see some of those greatest hits come back in remixes or in reimaginings. But there's a lot of like new stuff that we're now able to do as well that would have never worked in the original edition, and we're going to get to explore that space too. So I think we get a good combination of legacy and new and all of that. And of course, Mission Pack 2 is just number 2 in 12 months or so. After that, you're going to get Mission Pack 3, which is actually the one we're working on now. And that one has some really amazing concepts that have been going very well with the testers. So it's going to be really exciting when we get to show off the work from that.
Awesome.
There might not be an answer to this. Is that going to be like, are we going to just have all those missions for forever, or is there going to be like a phasing season kind of thing? Like in Shatterpoint?
You will always have all the missions forever for any game that you want to play, assuming that we don't have to ban a card or whatever because it has an interaction that we totally missed. Or there's definitely good reasons for game health that a card might go away. But in general, if you're playing a game, like if you're playing a game at the game store or whatever with a casual opponent, you should use whichever mission cards have been released that you want to use. Where we kind of pivot on that is when you get into like the tournaments, right? When you get into the Galactic Conquest mission, like tournament pack. In those instances, we want to be able to curate the mission selection to drive meta, to make interesting choices, to maybe remove certain things that work well in a casual setting that don't work well in a competitive setting. And what we found is, and we've done this in Crisis Protocol. Sorry, your ears are not burning, folks listening, but it's the reference. So we're going to cross our IPs for a little bit. But we've done this in Crisis Protocol now that we have a large enough selection of missions. And what we found is from a development and design space standpoint, there's a lot of players out there that they don't necessarily view themselves as tournament gamers. They're not necessarily concerned with making lists that are applicable to a challenger event or whatever. They may go play in those events, but the most of the way in which they engage with the game is just, the game right out of the box, and they're going to do this stuff. And when you don't have to design every mission to be perfectly tight for a competitive tournament like level of play, you get a lot more mission variety. You get a lot more of those fun experiences that I think every player enjoys. And you can make those things with the knowledge that if something is problematic, you can rotate it out. You also get that extra developer benefit of every time you do a new mission rotation, you kind of mess with players who want to be engaged at the high level of skill and list building and all that. You get your Paganis and that kind of stuff of the world. You get your developers of the world who now have to think in new ways, right? So we can kind of influence and shift meta by putting pressure on which missions you can take, which missions now rotated out, and that kind of stuff. And I think that's a really, if you're a tournament player, that should be very exciting to you because it means that every season or every half a season, the game is going to feel fresh and different, and it's going to ask you different challenges that you now go get to solve.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. Just kind of keep us on our toes even more. Okay, last question here. We'll wrap up. I know we're getting pretty close on time. The new faction specific advantages. I kind of want to talk just general how like design space and stuff like that. I don't know if I have a couple of specific questions about two of them. I don't know if there's been a forum post or anything. So I'll just start with those first. These specific,
I'll do what I can.
Okay. Specifically on the clone one. So it says you
Yes.
place an advantage token on the card.
Yes.
And then when you spend it, you get to give out to 2 units, coordinate trooper and coordinate vehicle. Is that a permanent, or is that only for the turn that you spend the token?
That one I'm not sure of. You'd have to ask the developer if that was intentional or not.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
So I would wait for a forum on that one.
Yeah, we'll probably get a forum on that
rules
one.
Rules written is permanent.
Okay.
But is that intentional? Is that what it's supposed to be? I will let the developer ask that.
So again, with the Rebel card, it also plays with that advantage token, but it doesn't say put anything on the card. So that is just from your pass pool. So you have as many advantage tokens that you have as pass pool.
I would need the full text of the card, but yes, that sounds correct.
Yeah, I'm not explaining the full text of the card, but yeah, I think so. So okay, now that those are out of the way, let's just talk about the like broad, just kind of like just these advantages and how they're specific, how they came to be, and what was your kind of thought on all of these and how you made each one very different and very, that faction identity has been a big part of what you guys wanted to make feel, and I feel like these have kind of nailed it on the head a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they were a big thing that we wanted to do when all of this was launching, right? But we didn't quite get to it in development time. We've talked in the past a lot about how we have such huge hopes and dreams for everything, right? For making new things, for updating old things, for creating scenarios, for creating alternate formats, all this kind of stuff. But it really just comes down to how much development time do we have, right? There's only X number of hours in a week. And as much as I love pushing our developers, I would rather they not spend overtime and stuff doing this kind of stuff, and they have good work-life balance and they do all those kind of things. So we only make them work their 40 hours a week. Sorry, guys. But it was something that we wanted earlier but couldn't get, so it was early on our docket, and this is kind of the first taste of this kind of thing, where we want unique faction command cards, which we have currently, but we want more. We want more of these things, right? We want more ways for each of the factions to feel different from each other while still playing the same game as the other different factions, right? And advantages are a way to do that. Maybe someday you'll get secondaries. Maybe someday you'll could do primary. Like you could do anything in there, right? Like, and there's. I mean, you asked about design space, right? That's kind of what I'm talking about right now. Is there's infinite design space here that we can utilize. Can we create secondary missions that add more narrative that are very rebel focused or very republic focused, right? Like all those different things. Can we do that with advantages? Yes, obviously we just did that. But where are all these different aspects of the game that we can play with and do these things that are outside of just building your army, right? And all of that, I think, is open and fair game for the future of where can we take this, where can we go, all that kind of stuff. And it's all stuff that I want to explore, right? And if we can make it work, we do it. So
you make me think about Tours of Duty, like have like all faction specific everything.
Yeah,
on my tour. That'd be super fun.
I mean, God, we could make literally anything in Tours of Duty. Like you can do whatever you want. It's great.
Yeah,
yeah.
Tours of Duty is super fun.
So fun.
So, yeah, Shake. I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
No, I mean, I think you covered it, right? The faction specific advantages was something that we definitely talked about as a possibility. We've not talked about faction specific secondary objectives, so maybe you'll see that in like a Battle Pack 3 or something.
There's some skill enemy somewhere.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't know why, but he is.
But overall, right, I think the goal is always to provide a lot of interesting choices for players throughout the entire spectrum of the game, right? So that includes turn 0, all the way up to the actual play experience, and then a lot of analysis afterwards about like what worked, what didn't. Having more places where you can, turn dials. The guy talked about this with the character upgrades, right? The fact that they're unique and they dramatically change how a unit functions by making it effectively a character unit adds a lot of diversity and variety to list building. Having advantages or objectives or whatever that can really emphasize certain aspects or ways to play the faction that you can maximize is another incentive to be like, okay, let's break the mold. Let's try something different. Let's do these different things. Battle forces are another, right? I think, at the end of the day, our goal, lofty and as implausible as it is to achieve, is that every single thing is as viable a choice as every other thing. And that's not achievable. It's just literally not achievable through points only and rules abilities, right? You have to find all of the other elements where those puzzle pieces can fit. And so that's like making the game really diverse and interesting when it comes to like mission objectives, secondary objectives. What kind of additional bonuses can you give these things? How do you attach those things in? All of that connective tissue that allows every person's army to be a unique reflection of what they want to accomplish, how they accomplish it, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, and so that's what we aim for, and points are helpful. Points can definitely move the balance curve closer. They can get things within the curve, but overall, right, if you don't want to play with one unit profile for literally everything on the table, there's going to be imperfect balance. There's going to be differences. There's going to be things that are just mathematically superior to other things purely based on the dint of their values. And so the puzzle of development and the challenge of development is then saying, okay, well, we have this imperfect system. How do we create enough chaos that players can express their skill and choose what they want and find the right combinations to make more of less, right? To take lower things and elevate them to greatness through synergies and combos and all that stuff. And, that's really exciting when you have a lot of different dials that you can turn for that. And we're exploring more and more of those now that we're really past the starter and we're getting into the new edition and all of this stuff. It's been fun to see players, out there in the community be really excited by that and to kind of have the same reactions we did, 16 months ago when we were working on saying, oh, this is pretty cool. I think we got something here. This might be pretty exciting. And, it's good to be proven out on some of those things. And then we just continue to build on that from there.
Awesome. Well, we probably got to let you guys go. I do have a short one. Sorry.
Do it.
It just came to me. I was really excited that the Echo Base and the Blizzard Force were going to get a re-release, and there's that cool new Darth Vader and Leia model in there. But you guys did say those boxes would be kind of a limited run. Do you know if those specific commanders will be a limited run, or they might come out again later, or if you want to get them while the getting's hot?
So yeah, so those army boxes, the unique sculpts kind of in them, which are just alternate sculpts. To be clear, there's no new rules to them. It's just Commander Leia and Darth Vader, the Commander version. I suppose you could use them as the operative too if you wanted to, because Darth Vader is Darth Vader. The idea behind those is just as like, it's kind of like an incentive or a bonus if you are a player who is a first adopter, right? You jump in early, and you're not only going to get this cool like army at a somewhat discount. Like, they're not as extreme of a discount bundle as the starters, right? They're not meant to be starters, but they can be used in a similar fashion. If you're just like, I don't like the starters, I want to do this. Our kind of idea behind those, though, is that they're really catered to the existing community or the veteran players. And so you understand the value, you have all of the game materials, and what they do is they provide a really player-friendly way to say, oh, I've never played Rebels, but I like Echo Base. I think that moment in Hoth is cool. Now I can just get this stuff, and I get all the new things, and it's kind of all bundled together. And I do get this, special edition miniature. And will those special edition miniatures be available somewhere else at some point in time? I mean, possibly. There are no current plans or like things that we can point to that say this is how they'll become available. But once you've made a thing in plastic, someday we're not going to destroy the tools, so they're there. I think obviously we want to make sure that they feel exclusive and exciting to the players who again make that leap and go pick up one of those army boxes to start. But in 2, 3, 4, 5 years or something, when the time is right, could we see them again? For sure. Or we might see different versions of like the same thing. We have a lot of flexibility when it comes to like doing neat kind of reskins of those characters and giving players that, that kind of unique gamer bling, we like to call it, because it doesn't really make a difference to your play experience, but it does feel cool when you have the thing and somebody sees, your convention exclusive Vader and resin from way back when, and they're like, oh my gosh, what is that? I've never seen it before. And you get to explain that, oh yeah, it was exclusive to this, and I managed to get one, and it's very neat, but it's the same thing as everyone else has access to. It just looks different, right? And I think those things are really healthy and exciting and fun for hobbyists, for collectors, and so we kind of want to give a little nod to that. And this was a fun way to do it, and it gives us the chance to go back and kind of reimagine these characters in a way that works to strengthen the product and the community and everything else around it.
Awesome. Well, cool. Thanks for letting me sneak that last one in there.
Yeah, but no problem.
We were super excited about everything we saw, and we can't wait for Adepticon and for all these boxes to start coming out. And it feels like there's a million things to paint right now.
Yep.
To put together and try. So
we talked about work-life balance. We could have kept you for probably 4 more hours and talked about stuff. There's so much, but
you know how to reach us. You know how to get us back on. Maybe we'll get our Asmodee firewall fixed again. I know why it broke, because Google did an update, and so it reset all the settings. So I got to go back and clear all those, but it's fine.
Okay.
Thanks for fighting through the firewall for us.
Yeah, no worries. That's why we have our phones.
Yeah,
all works out.
All right,
Thank
cool.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful evening. Chat with you soon.